Hi, Viola Rose here, and I want to tell you about the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop that I facilitate. This is a workshop that I have been facilitating since 2012. I was trained by Drunvalo Melchizedek in January of 2012 to facilitate this work and have been teaching it ever since and have taught over 100, well over 100 of these 4-day intensives. And still, so many people that I know don't really actually know what it contains. So I want to just give you a brief overview of what this work actually is. So the Awakening the Illuminated Heart Workshop is a body of work created by Drunvalo Melchizedek. Now, in the 80s and 90s, you might have heard of the Flower of Life workshop. And this was a workshop that Drunvalo created to help bring the awareness of the Merkaba, the light body, back to humanity. And he taught this workshop, and then it was then transferred and made into a book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volumes 1 and 2. And those books are chock full of such fascinating information. And one of the things in that book, because it was also in the Flower of Life workshop, was the Merkaba activation. This was an old way of doing the Merkaba that Drunvalo created at a time when we weren't ready to activate our heart-based living Merkaba yet. So there was a whole meditation that was involved with breath work and mudras and creating octahedrons. And it was a practice that was popular back then and still is popular to some degree today. People still find his work and don't realize that that's not at all the way that we work with the Merkaba in present times. Because in 2011, Drunvalo created a new workshop. Well, in between the Flower of Life workshop, he created another workshop called the Earth, Sky, Heart workshop. And he also wrote a book called Living in the Heart. And this is when his body of work began to change to be much more about the heart-based information. And so the Earth Sky Heart Workshop evolved in 2011 into the Awakening the Illuminated Heart because he was given clear guidance that it was time to share the original way of activating the Merkaba with the world, the heart-based Merkaba. And so he created the Awakening the Illuminated Heart, and it's a 4 or 5 day training, depending upon the teacher. Drunvalo would teach it in 5 days. I teach it in 4. And it was an evolution of all of his bodies of work. And it was everything a person needs in order to walk the path of ascension. So I ended up in Sedona in November of 2011, the first time he offered it publicly. And it was the most profound thing I'd ever done. It was 5 days of every day me going, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. And I'm somebody who's really lit up by the idea of sovereignty and that we have everything we need inside of ourselves. And that's exactly what this training was. It was teaching us that we have our own access to our sacred space of our heart, and access to the unified field of everything beyond this matrix, that there is a portal within that touches the truth of reality. And we also learn to connect with our own higher self, a version of ourselves that isn't in this third dimensional density. Its frequency is higher, and it didn't come through the dense frequency fence that we live in here in the third dimension. So they don't have the blinders on that we have down here in 3D. And it's just the aspect of ourselves that is free from these constructs. And we learn to connect to that aspect of ourselves. We heal traumas that are around the heart that can keep a person from actually getting into the heart. A big part of this work is learning to get out of the duality of the mind, because if we're creating reality and living from our mind, then we're going to be creating a reality based upon duality. And we learn to actually truly get into the sacred unified field of the heart. So sometimes that might mean clearing belief patterns and clearing traumas that we have accumulated over our life that can keep us from getting into the heart. So we work with that as well. We do a lot of work with breaking belief patterns. Like if we live in an unlimited universe, then what's limiting us? It comes down to our belief patterns. There's so many belief patterns that the matrix sort of puts on us that you are limited. And we're not. So we start to work with that as well. And then we also work in the workshop with opening the third eye. And it's a much more involved process than what we'll commonly hear in New Age circles, like, oh, my third eye's open. Like, what does that actually mean? What's the science behind actually opening it? What exactly is the third eye? And how can we turn it on and connect it to our heart? And so we do all that in the workshop. And then we also learn how to activate our heart-based living Merkaba field from the unity of the heart and not the duality of the brain. as was done in the old way, the synthetic way that was a good solution until we were ready to really activate that. I do have a whole nother video on my YouTube channel about the difference between the old and the new Merkaba, so you can look more into that as well. I also have a video specifically about the difference between creating reality from the heart and from the mind. And so those can be some further information, but this is just a general overview. So we learn to actually bring online our heart-based living Merkaba. And when you do that, it's a one-time meditation. It's not like a synthetic Merkaba that was created where you had to do the meditation over and over. It's a one-time thing that you get to a certain very heightened state of consciousness, connecting the heart back to the brain through Tantra of the heart, and involves this whole meditation technique. And once that Merkaba comes online, it's permanent and you have it for the rest of your life. And then you are free once you leave here. Because the idea is that our memories are held magnetically, and there's a magnetic sheath around each brain cell. And so they get wiped, our memories get wiped when we lose the connection to the earth and when our soul leaves at our time of death. And so if you actually have an activated Merkaba, which is an electromagnetic field around you, then it keeps your consciousness and your memories intact. Then when you get to the other side, you're not just ushered in like a sheep into the next reincarnation cycle. You're actually free. And so that is the reason that Drunvalo is here, to bring the information of the Merkaba. So that way, if we were to have a planetary ascension, whatever that means, or if we were to die, then we could actually ascend on our own and have the freedom to go where we want to go and not just be looping over and over and over in the reincarnation cycle. Then we learn how to work with the Merkaba. This is a living field, and so you can program it to protect you, to do things for you, to just help make life a little easier and a little bit more in grace. And we learn how to create reality as well from this unified field of the heart, instead of the duality of the mind. So that's the workshop. It's life-changing, it's transformative. And I think when people sometimes hear that I teach for Drunvalo Melchizedek, they might imagine that I'm doing flower of life work or teaching the old method of activating the Merkaba, which is very tedious, and a lot of people actually are not fond of it. And so that is not at all what's used anymore. The work is really about getting into your heart, breaking belief patterns, and getting into your sovereignty so that you can be free of this level of density when it's time to leave here. So if you would like to learn more about that, I also have a 2-hour introduction to the workshop on my YouTube channel, and my website is violarose.com, www.violarose.com. And on there, I have information, more information about the workshop, and then also my upcoming schedule, because I teach this workshop 3 to 4 times a year in person in the Sedona, Arizona area. And I also teach it every month or two online, so people can attend from all over the world. And I also have a self-study version of the workshop that you can go at your own pace with real-time guidance from me. So all those options are on my website, plenty of opportunities to participate if you are interested in that. And you can also book a private session with me anytime to talk about this, if it might be a good fit for you, or talk about any matter whatsoever on the spiritual path. I am available to talk with people and just have an ear to talk to in these realms that are not so common in our world. So much love to you all. May you all just be blessed and soar with freedom and love. Okay, bye-bye.